I got a message to the obstacles that stand before me. I will destroy you. I will not be denied. I refuse to lose. This shit to happen. Oh, baby, it's happening. Jon Moxley is going to win G1 Climax 29.
This is Shotzi Blackheart, and you're listening to Tiger Driver Radio.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Tiger Driver Radio for all things New Japan and the best of the indies. This is your main man, JP, alongside
Juicy J. What up, man?
What's up, man? How's everything, dude?
It's going good, man. You look a little tired.
I am very tired. I have been partying a lot this weekend. I've been out and about. I've been tubing. Oh, man, I need sleep. I need rest. But there's never any rest for the wicked. And on that note, man, this G1, these guys got to be tired. These past 2 days of the tournament, man, have been fan-fucking-tastic. And I got to say, this is where you start to see the fatigue set in. If I'm tired, I know they're absolutely tired. No, but the thing is that's made it all feel better is, you know, watching these G1 matches, man. Like, man, I cannot tell you how absolutely impressed I am with even wrestlers that I don't really, like, I'm not the biggest fan of, are doing great, like, performance-wise. Like, never mind the point system for a second. Never mind who's on top of the blocks and who's going to win and whatever else. Just everybody has performed so fucking well. Like, how could you not reward everyone? So I know everyone can't be rewarded, but everyone's done their job so well in this tournament. But on that note, man, let's get to talking. For this night of the tournament, we're talking about Saturday, July 27th at the Aichi Perfectual Gymnasium, the night that was headlined by Kenta versus Okada. But that undercard, you cannot ignore that undercard, man. That undercard, which I got to say right now, Kota Ibushi versus Lance Archer, shocked at how well Lance Archer.
He's doing great.
Like he's killing it.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, he lost. He's at 4 points. Kota Ibushi has now been able to go up to 6 points with the Kamigoye. But the fact that I saw Lance Archer hit a Kamigoye on Kota Ibushi, I really thought at that point in the match, I was like, oh, fuck, that's it. Ibushi's done. And no, he was able to kick out and come back and hit a Kamigoye of his own. But Lance Archer's been doing well. I mean, it is unfortunate that he, at this point in the tournament, he's probably going to end up playing spoiler for someone else in the tournament. But you can't ignore that he's performed so beautifully. And even if he doesn't necessarily win the G1 or score high in the G1, I say that in the future, as a singles competitor, you have to put him in line for some gold. Yeah. Absolutely.
His goal is to get over the fans, and he achieved that, I think.
Yeah, I think he's getting over, and he can perform so well. You know, it's like, and it's just, I just can't get over how versatile Lance Archer truly is. I mean, we all know him as a tag team wrestler, but he's been able to adjust with everybody's style, including doing things that have shocked the crowd, including, you know, doing high risk moves. Yeah. Extremely agile for a guy that tall. I've been thoroughly impressed with Lance Archer, although he did come up short, still stuck at 4 points. Kota Ibushi moves up to 6 points, but it cannot deny how well that he did. And then, of course, Will Ospreay versus Bad Luck Fale. I really wish they would have put Ospreay over and had him, you know, go over Fale clean. You know what I mean? I think it would have done a little bit more to help Ospreay, but it doesn't hurt Ospreay. It
hurts Fale though a lot.
It hurts Fale.
Comparing him to Archer, the two biggest guys in the tournament.
Yeah, Archer has been impressive, and Fale hasn't really done anything to make himself stand out. You know, but like I said, Ospreay does. In fact, at this point, I think it's safe to say that he will only play spoiler in this tournament as well. You know, compared to his counterparts. And then of course, Evil versus Zack Sabre Jr. Evil able to score, the 6 points. I'm so shocked that Zack Sabre has done this poor in this tournament. Like the most that he's doing is that he's hurting wrestlers so that other wrestlers can't perform as well down the tournament. Yeah. Because people are selling, his injuries. They're selling the damage that he's doing to them. But Zack Sabre just can't seem to get the job done. And like I said, up until this point, Zack Sabre has always been one of the better tournament wrestlers of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Yeah. But of course, not this G1.
Yeah.
He's still stuck down at 2 points. Extremely unfortunate.
And then Evil has points, but he's been unimpressive to me from all the LIJ people in the tournament. He's been the least impressive.
Absolutely. I feel like when he of course, remember when a while ago I believe it was 2 years ago, he went to the block final in the G1, and he was extremely impressive then.
Yeah.
This year, not so much.
Yeah.
I'm a little like disappointed. And then, to follow up with that disappointment, Sanada has performed so beautifully, but has not been able to get the job done. He loses against Hiroshi Tanahashi. It was a back and forth match. It could have gone either way. I just think at this point, you don't necessarily need to keep pushing Tanahashi strong. Have Tanahashi start putting more people over. But that's just my opinion. I know a lot of people still feel that Tanahashi can have another title reign under his belt. Maybe he can. I don't think it needs to happen anytime soon. I just wish that they would have pushed Sanada a bit better. At this point, we have 4 more nights of tournament action at this point?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, like 4, 5, 6, 7. No, 8. Like 8.
But that's 8 nights. But that means that's 4 matches per bracket.
Oh, you're right. Absolutely.
That's what I meant to say. It's like four match. Every wrestler has 4 more matches in this tournament left.
Yeah.
For their singles competitions.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah.
And with that being said, at best, Sanada can hope to maybe make 10 points. Maybe.
Hopefully.
Tanahashi can probably get 14.
Yeah.
At this point, I think Sanada is pretty much out of the running at this point. So that, of course, puts Tanahashi at 6 points. He's still in the running, but just barely. And then, of course, you had Kazuchika Okada against Kenta headlining. And now this is a very slow and methodical match, but it was good. It wasn't about high spots. It wasn't about like false finishes. It was about just them systematically trying to break each other down. And with Okada winning with the Rainmaker at 26 minutes, it was a very close match. But the thing that I was really disappointed at is with how strong they've been booking Kenta, I would have thought they would have put him over on this time. But then again, it doesn't mean this is the last time that Kenta and Okada could meet, because at the end of it is ultimately about who is going to finish top 2 in the bracket with points. And then they face off to determine that finalist to go on to the finals. So in all actuality, Kenta and Okada, if I'm not mistaken, they could technically face again, right?
Yeah, they could. If it stays the same. Because Kenta has a lot of points. He has 8.
He's only down by 2.
Yeah, so it doesn't hurt him.
And Okada could very well lose to someone else.
Yeah.
Or draw, or keep winning, and Kenta could keep winning, and then suddenly the top 2 people are Kenta and Okada again.
Yeah, because the next one's down is Evil, Ibushi, and Tanahashi with 6. So
who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? It could very well play out that way, where Kenta could very well have a rubber band match, and of course go up against Okada again. Who knows? I think Kenta did gain a lot of respect in this match though with the crowd, because this is a hometown crowd for Okada.
Yeah.
And I think Kenta shocked a lot of people that a lot of people have said that Kenta doesn't have it anymore. He's not as good as he used to be. I think in this match he definitely went toe to toe with Okada, and you could tell that the crowd admired his heart.
Yeah, even Okada gave him a handshake at the end of the match.
Absolutely, which Okada doesn't do that often with everybody.
Yeah.
So the respect is there. I still think Kenta could potentially win. At minimum, go to the block final at very least. And then with that being said, we go to the next night, also in the Aichi Prefectural Gymnasium on July 28th. This night, of course, was headlined with Tatsuya Naito against Jon Moxley. But once again, this undercard cannot be understated or underestimated. And with that being said, one of the things that really impressed me was the fact that I'm not going to say impressed. Impressed is the wrong word. Is that Goto was able to score some points, and Yano is now stuck at 4 points. Goto was able to get some traction, and in fact, Goto just hit a roll up on. He kind of hit Yano with his own medicine.
Yeah.
And just hit him with the roll up, and that was it. At this point in the tournament, I think Yano is just going to keep losing at this point. I think he's kind of done playing spoiler. Like that's it. Like at this point, and I'm just a little disappointed that Goto
didn't get more points. Yeah.
Maybe he might have a chance. Probably unlikely. I just want more from him because I think Goto is such a phenomenal wrestler. Yeah. And then this next match between Juice Robinson and Tomohiro Ishii, man, 17 minutes and 54 seconds with the vertical drop brainbuster. Ishii got over, but man, him and Juice Robinson just tore the house down that night. Really impressive. Ishii, of course, goes up to 6 points. Robinson now stays stagnant at 6 points. And this just goes to show you that Robinson started off, weak, but then, of course, started gaining some momentum, and now he won a loss. You never know what can happen in a tournament. And this match is a prime example. This match could have gone either way. And then, of course, Jeff Cobb against Taichi hit him with the Tour of the Islands at 12 minutes. Taichi tried to cheat, didn't work. Cobb was able to hit him with the Tour of the Islands for the 1, 2, 3. Both of them are now tied at 4. At this point, both of these gentlemen are going going to probably end up playing spoiler at this point. And then with the next match, Shingo Takagi against Jay White. I got to tell you, man, I am always so thoroughly impressed with Jay White's ability to be a crafty heel. Yeah. For him to counter moves by grabbing onto the referee, or for him to kind of roll out of these moves at the last minute. And with his cockiness, Jay White, in my opinion, is still hands down one of the best heels in wrestling, period. He's resilient, and he finds ways to squeak out of moves.
Yeah.
And of course, at this point, Jay White said, like, I am going to win the next, at this point, it was supposed to be the next 5 matches. I think now 4. And if he does, it'll put him at 12, and it'll ultimately rely on him having to hope that somebody in the upper echelon of the block either loses or draws and puts him in open for contention.
Yeah, he's still in it because a lot of people in Block B have 4 points, so he could jump over these guys if he keeps winning.
Exactly. As long as he keeps winning, and then somebody else
keeps losing.
Yeah, exactly. And at this point, anybody who's at the 4-point mark in B block has a fighting chance. But this next match is going to be a make or break for some people, for anybody in B block. With that being said, Takagi even still has a chance. Jay White still has a chance.
Yeah.
And with that being said, up next is Tatsuya Naito and Jon Moxley. Man, what a as good old JR would say, what a slobber knocker, what a barn burner this match was. And the one thing that Naito came out guns a-blazing, trying to bring the attack to Jon Moxley really quickly.
He kept annoying Moxley too.
He kept trying to get into his head, but Jon Moxley would just come back and just be on top of him like a rabid pit bull.
Yeah.
Biting him, punching him, just brawling with him. And then, of course, finding ways to outmaneuver him. And he even took a Destino and kicked out of it, only to hit, the Death Rider twice in that match to put Tetsuya Naito away. But the thing is, they had good chemistry.
Yeah.
Really good chemistry in that ring. I would like to see another match between those two down the road.
Yeah, even Moxley gave Naito some props at the end. And
he was like, you're
said,
crazy.
Yeah, estás loco, is what he said. Yeah, this was a good match.
It was an absolutely good match. And the thing is, Naito isn't technically out, even though Jon Moxley has been dominant in his points. And like I said, I got to give props to Moxley. I think between his debut in AEW, his performance in the G1, he's had matches against Killer Cross and, of course, Darby Allin on the Indies. And then, of course, we have more news about Jon Moxley's, immediate future coming up. I would have to say, at the end of the year, when Pro Wrestling Illustrated comes out with their top 500 wrestlers and, they start giving their awards for best wrestler of this year or most improved, they have to give most improved to Jon Moxley. To go from earlier this year where his career was kind of a joke on TV, where he was playing a hokey character, to now he's on fire and wrestling these classic battles.
Different promotions, things,
making a name for himself. And it's just, I am so thoroughly impressed with how he's performed in this tournament. It's like he's been able to utilize his unorthodox style of wrestling paired with a little bit of his MMA training while still being a brawler, while still, of course, paying homage and kind of not forgetting that he at one point was a deathmatch guy. I am so impressed with his versatility in this tournament. Like, he's been able to wrestle so many different styles in a sense, You've seen a lot of some submissions, a lot of, rich striking work with knees and elbows, of course, him brawling, biting, like he can mix it up with anybody. And this tournament has definitely shown how versatile Jon Moxley is as a performer, not only on the mic, but in that ring. And man, him and Tetsuya Naito definitely had an amazing match. I especially love that stunt with Naito hitting, Moxley with that drop kick off of the chair, off of the walkway. But of course, Naito fell short.
Let me ask you this on Moxley. Moxley is awesome, but do you think New Japan's relying too much again, going back to the elite? Like, you're building this guy to be the biggest maybe in the tournament. Hopefully he still stays on top. But when he leaves, hopefully he doesn't. But let's say he leaves, you're building all the stuff and that you can use on other people in New Japan. You're using it on some guy that's...
You're saying that, like, basically the buildup is going to be ultimately in vain?
Yeah, because later when AEW starts, maybe he leaves. Maybe he doesn't continue. Maybe he's going to be too busy to go back to New Japan. We'll see what happens. But they did that before when they relied on, the Young Bucks. And
it's like they put their eggs in too many eggs in one basket. And and I've given some thought about that. Like, don't get me wrong. Right now, I'm enjoying the ride.
Yeah.
I'm definitely enjoying the ride. It's nice to see Jon Moxley have these fucking awesome matches. Yeah. But I have given thought to that. I think it's safe to say that when TV picks up in October for AEW, he will be a focal point of television. Absolutely. He's still very much in the prime of his career. It's not like Jericho, who is an older guy. He can still go, but Jericho has stated that, he definitely wants to wrestle that Brock Lesnar schedule.
Yeah.
And how he'll be utilized in AEW, I don't know. Who's to even say that maybe at some point in the near future, New Japan can also form an alliance with AEW and would trade talent?
Oh,
maybe.
Yeah.
We don't know. Time is of the essence. I also did think of that same thing that you did, because you're going to build Moxley up, give him he already is a champion already. He's a U.S. champion right now. And then he could potentially win the G1 just for him to what? Lose?
Yeah.
Or just for him to just not compete in New Japan Pro Wrestling? Time will tell. I still think it's a little too premature to think that New Japan is putting all their eggs in one basket just for Moxley to leave. Because for all we know, maybe Moxley might try to divide his time between New Japan and AEW. I don't know how he's going to do it. That seems super difficult. But like I said, at this point, AEW, unlike WWE, is not a company that's going to have house shows at this point. It's strictly Wednesday night, and that's it. And then from Thursday onwards is free to apparently take bookings potentially. I heard a lot of wrestlers in the AEW roster will not be taking bookings after a certain point. But Moxley is apparently still associated with New Japan. So I don't know. I hope that they don't do that, because it is the same mistake that they made with the Elite, where they relied too much on them, and to the point where they, I think, lost a lot of, New Japan did lose fans, a lot of very vapid casual fans. I mean, there were some fans that stuck around, a lot of fans stuck around, but you know, New Japan's a good product. I want to keep watching this as they should. I mean, this G1 is top grade wrestling. It's the best wrestling of the year, every year, hands down. But I do get worried about that too, whether Jon Moxley is going to stick around. We'll see what happens with Jon Moxley. I would like to see him win the G1. Whether he does, I don't know. A lot of people are now predicting that it's going to be him and Okada in that final, which will be a badass match. And maybe Okada will end that 19-year streak of where it'll be the first time in 19 years that an IWGP champion will win the G1. And if that's the case, then I think he is able to sign whoever. He basically can challenge whoever he wants at the Tokyo Dome. We'll see. Okada might make history, because I think at this point, Okada is going to, it's already been destined, but I think Okada is still going to be set up as the true face of the company for me.
I would like to see that. Who do you think if he does win, who do you think he'll ask for?
Omega. Maybe he's not happy that he still did not quite beat Omega. I don't know, because Omega, there is rumors that Omega still has in his contract that he is still open to working with New Japan, and maybe working at the Tokyo Dome. I don't know. It's going to get really interesting between the end of the G1 going forth and what's going to happen with AEW in October leading up to Wrestle Kingdom.
A lot of things going on.
A lot of things are going to, it's going to be really interesting. Hopefully New Japan is going to be smarter with their contracts and how they use talent and going forth, because like I said, I think it'd be silly to put all this focus on Jon Moxley just for him to disappear.
Just to leave. That would suck.
So we'll see how this pans out. It's going to prove to be very difficult, because I know Jon Moxley will be a focal point on AEW television.
I mean, on the same token, you can't have him lose anymore. Like he needs to continue winning, because you don't want him to look bad when AEW starts either.
Exactly. So I'm pretty sure he's going to look strong no matter what. Period.
So it should be maybe either make it to the semifinals or the finals. Or the final. That would be cool.
Absolutely. But on that note, man, we got a lot of other interesting news to talk about.
Let's go to the news.
Yeah, man. And speaking of news outside of New Japan Pro Wrestling, one of the cool things that I think, speaking of Japanese wrestling, is that Pro Wrestling Noah has finally decided to build a partnership with Major League Wrestling. And I'm super excited about that. Awesome. I think a lot of people have really overlooked Noah these past couple of years, especially since they lost Kenta to WWE. And, Noah has kind of struggled to gain footing again after the death of Mitsuharu Misawa in 2009. Because like I said, Misawa was the founder of Pro Wrestling Noah. He was the one responsible for splitting from All Japan Pro Wrestling in the early 2000s, starting Pro Wrestling Noah, pretty much taking half the roster from All Japan. And, for a little bit of time between the mid 2000s till 2009, Pro Wrestling Noah was the biggest wrestling company in Japan, because even at that time, New Japan Pro Wrestling was struggling, during the Inokiism era. But with that being said, since then, Noah has struggled to pull numbers. Lately, they're pulling a lot of great numbers. They're starting to, they've already exceeded what they did last year. And of course, they have their upcoming tournament, the N1 tournament.
It seems like they're going and following New Japan's footsteps, like stuff on YouTube and
they're trying to follow that business plan of trying to be a little bit more digitally friendly, and to be available to people who want to watch outside of Japan. And with that being said, they have a tournament where it's 5 people per block, which is really interesting that they do it that way. But it's like a mini G1 called the N1 Grand Tournament, and of course it's going to feature Alex Hammerstone from Major League League Wrestling, who is currently the National Openweight Championship holder for Major League Wrestling. Also one of MJF's.
But he's from their stable?
From their stable, exactly. From the Dynasty stable. So it's really interesting that already, they're already kind of formulating a plan. I'd be excited as hell to see Naomichi Marufuji come over to MLW and wrestle some matches. Like I said, if you're not familiar with Naomichi Marufuji, watch his work with against Kenta in the late 2000s. Watch Marufuji's match against Okada from the 2016 G1, which, like I said, Marufuji was in fact in the G1 3 years ago. Sucks that that Noah wasn't able to continue that relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Also watch Marufuji's matches against Misawa, even though Misawa was a lot older at that point. His matches against a younger Marufuji were still pretty awesome to watch.
And then you have Dr. Wagner in the mix of this.
Yeah,
he's an older guy. Like, how is he gonna hold up? Yeah, exactly. But
if Dr. Wagner can go, then let him go. But like I said, much like New Japan Pro Wrestling Noah has this mini tournament, round robin, 5 people per block. So it'll be really interesting how that pans out. But apparently they're pulling better numbers. They sold Korakuen Hall much better than they have in the past recently. So hopefully with this partnership, it helps Noah gain some exposure and some fans. So I'm excited about that.
You think it was a weird move from Go to Impact to Noah, or do you think it's a step up?
I think at this point it's a step up. I think Impact has kind of burned a lot of bridges, unfortunately. Like I said, they're still trying to do their thing, but I don't know. I think at this point with Noah, MLW is definitely doing a lot of things. I think a company that doesn't have the same TV deal that an AEW or WWE has, they're actually doing a lot of good stuff down in that smaller promotion, which I really like what they're doing. And then on that note, for AEW, Chris Van Vliet, popular blogger, popular YouTube star, broadcast journalist, Emmy Award winner, did not know that, has signed a contract with AEW to work as a commentator and backstage personality and so on and so forth, which I believe at this point he joins Alicia Atut, who will be working for the company. I know we didn't see Alicia Atut in the last AEW event, but I think she did sign a contract, so she will be, of course, working with AEW in the future. If in fact that still is something that is, happening. I assume it is because she was announced to work for the company. But Chris Van Vliet now joins that team. The caveat off of that, you could see more of Chris Van Vliet and the rest of the AEW roster on October 2nd. Tickets for AEW's first television broadcast in Washington, D.C. will be on sale August 2nd at noon. So that means this Friday, as of the time of this recording, this Friday, August 2nd, you can buy your tickets for AEW show in Washington, D.C. Their first TV taping. Another little interesting thing is Josh Barnett has announced Bloodsport 2 on September 14th in Atlantic City, and the headlining match for that wrestling MMA hybrid show is Jon Moxley against Josh Barnett. So after the G1 is done, after All Out is over, he will head over to Game Changer Wrestling, and this might very well be Jon Moxley's last indie appearance, or one of his last indie appearances, and you'll have an MMA style shoot with Barnett. It'll be really fucking cool. Like I said, for those of you that don't know what Bloodsport is, it is an event that was started by Matt Riddle last year, where it combines pro wrestling with MMA, basically work style shoots. So no ropes, it's just pretty much they set up a ring with no ropes, and this is kind of like MMA style, but worked in the style of pro wrestling. So they can be a little violent, they can be a little bit more real. It's all about submissions and strikes for the most part. It kind of reminds me of watching UWF back in the 90s, or watching Pancrase. Earlier this year, Minoru Suzuki and Josh Barnett went to a time limit draw. This year, they're already doing a second one. They're not waiting until WrestleMania weekend.
Wait, wasn't Moxley in that? And he was watching? He was a spectator?
He was watching. Yeah. He was watching alongside Steven Regal. And it's really cool that now that he's out of WWE, he is going to face against Josh Barnett for Bloodsport 2 this year. And then last but not least, a little bit of controversy out in the wrestling world. Jordan Grace tweeted something very, very, very interesting. Basically saying that it's time for us to kind of stop insulting the common sense of our fans, and wrestlers shouldn't have to live a gimmick or keep up their name in order to keep working outside of wrestling. And maybe I'm wording that wrong, but a lot of wrestlers took a little bit of offense to that, saying that, well, why wouldn't you? And she says, well, there's no point in insulting. Everybody knows that my name is this as a wrestler, but why shouldn't I use my real name if I'm addressing fans? And this kind of hard. This kind of goes back to like the whole thing of like, is kayfabe dead at this point? And Lance Storm, of course, felt like, how is that modernizing wrestling? Because at the end of the day, you're a character. Fans expect something from you. That's your selling point. And I know, there's been a lot of other wrestlers who have disagreed with her stance on that. Xavier Woods did bring a good point, from WWE. He chimed in saying that, well, I kind of agree because I don't own the rights to the Xavier Woods name. WWE does, which is why I've always gone by Austin Creed on the up, down video game channel that he does. And at some point, I am going to no longer wrestle or be able to wrestle as Xavier Woods. So I need to be able to do my best to create some sort of brand recognition for my name in order to work outside of the WWE, which is why I go by Austin Creed. And Jordan Grace was kind of finding a way to emphasize that. Everybody at the end of the day knows that pro wrestling is, of course, predetermined. And Jordan Grace said that Lance Storm even chimed in and said, like, at the end of the day, you are still in a sport. Yeah. And she's like, well, not really, because this is all predetermined, and everything else like that. And he's like, well, yes, it's predetermined, but you are still very much in a sport, just like other people that are in non-traditional sports still have the nomenclature of being considered a sport, like dance or skateboarding, and granted, those aren't predetermined. That is based on how you perform. But at the end of the day, you still owe it to fans and respect to the business that you keep up your gimmick. And I'm not saying that if you're a heel, you need to be punching babies when you're, when you're
no, I think kids are the exception. I think kids, you be a little cool with, but
yeah. But I'm just saying that, like, I see the point that Jordan Grace is trying to make of like trying to create a separate brand from your name. But I feel like it's kind of pointless for her because she is not in a major company that owns her name. She's Jordan Grace in Impact. She's Jordan Grace on the Indies. She's Jordan Grace. So why wouldn't you utilize that to further your brand? Because obviously no one owns your name but you do. So I don't know. It's a really interesting take.
Yeah. Kind of like me. I have two names, Juicy J and Hugoso. Well, I said I was going to use Hugoso anymore. So
Hugoso, yeah.
I'll stick with Juicy J.
Yeah, you should. That's just where it's at, man. But on that note, man, you got anything else, dude?
That's it for me.
Absolutely, man. This episode, of course, I just want to say that it will be coming out a little bit earlier this week. So if you guys are expecting us to be out on Thursday, we might be out a little bit sooner. We got some personal family things we got to take care of. Family's always important. Look out for your own. Look out for each other. But before we go, man, where can they find us out on social media, dude?
On Facebook, you can find us on Tiger Driver Radio. Instagram, you can find us on Tiger Driver Radio. On Twitter, Tiger Driver Rad1. You can email us at tigerdriverradio@gmail.com.
Exactly, man. And we're all over the place, man. We're on Stitcher, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, Apple Music for as long as it's still up. Hopefully, I think within the year it's going to be gone. So nonetheless, wherever you want to listen to podcasts, we're probably there. And on that note, man, peace. Enjoy pro wrestling.
Adios.